Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our channel, where we endeavor to bring you the best horror-themed stories and tales that are guaranteed to deliver an equal dose of fear and excitement. Settle down, lock your doors, and prepare for a taste of the Frightmare Vault.
The Curse of the Ebon Drake. The moon hung low over the Black Reef, its pale light casting jagged shadows on the turbulent waves. Beneath the surface, the wreck of the Ebon Drake lay in silent decay, its once proud hull split and twisted, barnacles consuming its edges. No one ventured near the reef, not fishermen, not divers, not even the boldest of treasure hunters. The stories were too dark, too chilling. The Ebon Drake wasn't just a shipwreck, it was a tomb of madness and despair. In life, the Ebon Drake had been a formidable brigantine, notorious for smuggling, piracy, and a captain whose name was whispered in dread, Victor Hargrove. The legend said Hargrove had made a pact with something far older than man, trading his soul for power and riches. When the Ebon Drake vanished during a sudden squall in 1765, some said the sea had claimed its own. Others believed Hargrove had betrayed his pact, and his punishment was eternal. Despite the warnings, marine biologist Erin Marshall was determined to explore the wreck. To her, the Ebon Drake wasn't a cursed relic, but an ecological marvel. Stories of supernatural phenomena were little more than superstition, and Erin prided herself on logic and science. Armed with advanced diving equipment and joined by her colleague Sam Carter, she set out to prove the legend was nothing more than myth. The boat ride to Black Reef was uneventful, though the air seemed unnaturally still. Sam, a seasoned diver with a knack for humor, couldn't hide his unease. "Erin, you've read the stories, right? The disappearances, the hauntings?" he asked. Adjusting his mask, Erin smiled faintly. "I've read the stories, Sam, but we're scientists. Stories don't hold up against data." Sam didn't look convinced, but followed her lead as they slipped into the water. The descent was slow, the world above fading as the darkness of the depths closed in. The water grew colder the closer they came to the wreck, an unnatural chill that bit through their suits. The Ebon Drake emerged from the gloom like a phantom, its skeletal remains draped in kelp. The ship's figurehead, a serpent coiled around a human skull, seemed to glare at them, its hollow eyes filled with malice. Erin suppressed a shiver and signaled to Sam to begin recording. As they explored the wreck, Erin was struck by its preservation. Time had not claimed it as it should have. The timbers were intact, the masts still standing. She examined the deck, noting strange carvings etched into the wood. They were symbols, intricate and alien, pulsing faintly in the dim light of her flashlight. "Do you see this?" she asked over the comms. Sam swam closer, his eyes narrowing behind his mask. "Runes? Looks like something out of a horror movie. It's remarkable," Erin murmured, running her gloved fingers over the markings. A sudden jolt of cold shot up her arm, and she gasped. "Erin!" Sam's voice crackled with concern. "I'm fine," she said quickly. "Let's keep moving." They ventured deeper into the wreck, descending into the captain's quarters. The room was unsettlingly intact, the air of decay absent. A map was pinned to the desk, its edges curling, and a journal lay open beside it. Erin reached for the journal, her curiosity outweighing her caution. The pages were dry, an impossibility in the watery grave. She scanned the spidery handwriting, her heart racing as she read, "The bargain is broken, the serpent comes, we are forsaken." As she read the words, a low vibration reverberated through the ship, like the groan of a waking beast. The water around them darkened, and the light from their flashlights seemed to dim. "Erin, we need to leave," Sam said, his voice tight with fear. Before she could respond, the temperature plummeted. Shapes began to move in the shadows, indistinct shifting forms that seemed to watch them. A whispering sound filled the water, a cacophony of voices speaking a language Erin couldn't understand. One of the shapes solidified, taking on the form of a man in a tattered coat. His eyes glowed an unnatural green and his mouth twisted into a snarl. Erin recognized him instantly from the portraits she'd seen in historical texts. It was Captain Victor Hargrove. Hargrove raised a skeletal hand, and the whispering voices grew louder. Erin and Sam's lights flickered, and the water around them churned violently. "Go!" Erin shouted, shoving Sam toward the exit. They swam as fast as they could, the wreck seeming to shift and close around them. The whispering turned to wailing, a sound so filled with rage and despair that it rattled their very bones. As they broke free of the wreck, the water cleared, but the sense of dread remained. They surfaced, gasping for air, and hauled themselves onto the boat. The air above the reef was thick with fog, and the waves were eerily still. "What the hell was that?" Sam demanded, his hands trembling. Erin didn't answer. She clutched the journal she'd taken from the wreck, its pages now blank. The symbols she'd touched were burned into her mind, a searing memory she couldn't shake. In the weeks that followed, Erin's life unraveled. She began to hear whispers in the stillness, see shadows move where there were none. Sam refused to speak to her, his own experiences locked away behind a wall of fear. One night, Erin woke to find her room filled with seawater. She sat up, choking, only to realize it was a dream, or so she thought. Her bed sheets were damp, and the air smelled of salt and decay. Desperate for answers, Erin returned to the reef alone. She descended once more into the depths, drawn by an unseen force. The wreck waited for her, its runes glowing brighter, its darkness deeper. As she entered the captain's quarters, the door slammed shut behind her. The whispers rose to a deafening roar, and the journal appeared on the desk, its pages filled with words that burned like fire. The last entry read, "You are chosen." When Erin's boat was found drifting near the reef, it was empty. The Ebon Drake remained undisturbed, its curse claiming another soul. To this day, the locals of Black Reef say that on moonless nights, you can hear her whispers, calling to those foolish enough to listen. Sam Carter couldn't sleep. The events at Black Reef replayed in his mind every night. Erin's determination, the cursed wreck, and the impossible horrors they had witnessed. He hadn't spoken to anyone about it, not even his wife. How could he? No one would believe him. They'd think he was crazy. But he couldn't forget. The whispers from the depths, the glowing runes, and the way the water had turned to shadow haunted him. Even now, weeks later, he swore he could feel the cold touch of that cursed place clinging to his skin. He had tried to move on. He'd left the research institute, distanced himself from diving, and avoided the ocean altogether. But it wasn't enough. Strange things had begun happening. His reflection in mirrors lingered a moment too long. His shadow seemed to twist unnaturally in the corner of his eye, and at night, he heard faint whispers, not words, just a low, insistent murmur. And then there were the dreams. Sam dreamt of the Ebon Drake almost every night. He was back in the cold, black water. The wreck loomed like a phantom. He'd hear Erin's voice calling to him, distant and hollow, begging for help. When he turned to look, he'd see her drifting in the shadows, her eyes glowing green, her face twisted in despair. One night, the dream changed. He wasn't underwater. He was stood on the deck of the Ebon Drake, surrounded by the runes that now burned bright red. The whispering was louder than ever, a cacophony of voices pressing in on him from all sides. "You left her," a voice hissed behind him. He spun around. Captain Victor Hargrove stood there, his skeletal form robed in tattered finery, his glowing eyes boring into Sam. "You abandoned her to the depths," Hargrove growled. "You think you're safe?" "There is no safety, no escape. The sea remembers." Sam woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. The sound of waves echoed in his ears, though he was miles from the shore. He tried to calm himself, running a hand through his hair, but froze when he saw his hand. It was wet with salt water. He stumbled out of bed, his breath hitching, and nearly tripped over something on the floor. It was a small wooden carving, waterlogged and stained, a perfect replica of the Ebon Drake's figurehead. He hadn't brought it home. He hadn't even touched it. Panicking, Sam tried to throw it out, but no matter what he did, tossing it in the trash, burning it, even burying it, it always reappeared on his bedside table the next morning. The whispers grew louder each day, and the carving seemed to hum with energy. Sam began to avoid sleep altogether, terrified of what he might see. But exhaustion eventually claimed him, and every time he closed his eyes, he found himself back on that cursed wreck. On the last day anyone saw Sam Carter, he was seen leaving a small dock near the harbor. Witnesses later recalled that he seemed distracted, muttering to himself and glancing nervously at the water. His boat was found drifting near Black Reef the next morning, empty. Some say Sam went back to save Erin. Others believe he was drawn by the same curse that had claimed her. Divers sent to retrieve the boat reported seeing shapes in the water, indistinct figures, that watched them from the shadows before vanishing. Weeks later, an anonymous package arrived at the research institute where Erin and Sam had worked. Inside was the carving of the Ebon Drake's figurehead, still damp and wrapped in a piece of waterlogged fabric. Etched into the wood was a single word: forsaken.
Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can bring you the latest updates and videos from our channel. And please be sure to comment and let us know what kind of stories you wish to see in the future. Stay haunted.